Hello everyone, just Goran here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video. Today we are looking at beavers, North American beavers, European beavers. We got all the beavers coming in. I will say this video got a little bit longer than I intended. There's just a lot of cool stuff to see and I want to show you all the details, especially because the first zoo we'll be looking at today has just opened a brand new area, a North America area that has beavers in it. So let's start with that. We are in AquaZoo Leeuwarden and we are in the Churchill area. AquaZoo is basically naming all of their new areas after famous rivers or bodies of water, because they're AquaZoo, they're the water zoo, so it makes a lot of sense. So this area has been open for a little bit, but the official opening was very recently. I want to say in the last month or two, and when I was at the zoo like a year ago, none of this was here yet, so that's always really cool to see something brand new pop up. We've got this education sign over here. It's really cool. It's got a little video playing where it really shows how beavers are landscape architects. They show them building our dam and how that raises the water level, causing the river to flow differently, and showing how all of the other changes that they make, like creates new environments for other species as well, is really cool. I love that a lot. And then we've got the habitat over here, which got a nice big body of water. There's some natural rocks around. There's these tall trees, which you could see some little dots up in the trees. Maybe you've spotted those already. We'll see what those are in a little moment. We can see we've got these like metal poles, and that is a nice way to keep the water flowing through while still creating a barrier that the animals can get past. It's a little material that this zoo and other zoos from the same parent company, Libema, have been using a bit lately. Dierenrijk or Eindhoven Zoo used it recently in their tiger area as well. This zoo used it for their tiger area. But anyway, up in the tree we can see two little bowls. What are those? Well, it's a North American tree porcupine. This is a mixed habitat with them, and they're an awesome little addition. They're a new species for this zoo. The beavers were here already, but they just got a new enclosure. But these guys are completely new, and I think this is one of the only zoos in the north of the Netherlands to have these. And I could really tell because there were so many people like, what are those? Are the beavers climbing the tree? It was really cool to see these people discover a new species, really. So that was awesome. Over here we've got an underwater view. We can look across the waterline at the habitat, and you can see there's like these fallen over trees, and all the trees are protected with some metal, except over here there is a little thing that they can put trees into for the beavers to scavenge and still kind of show their natural behavior like this, which I think is really cool. But yeah, the rest of the trees all have these like metal things. You can actually see it in the back there, those metal things around it to prevent the beavers from, eating the trees. We can also see a fish that is a sturgeon over there. There should also be rainbow trout in here. I didn't see them. I was told by one of the zookeepers that they're still pretty small, so you're not likely to see them just yet. But and the water was also still pretty cloudy, so you couldn't see that far into the water. The only reason you could see that fish because it was right up against the glass. On the right over here we have a big aviary for crows and the sea eagle, North American sea eagle, bald eagle, and we have a little hut in here with a view of that aviary as well, but also a indoor view of the beavers. There's some nice little theming around here, like fishing stuff, other North America's theming, very generic stuff. But then we also have the indoor view of the beavers over here, which is a thing that pretty much every habitat in this video has, so definitely something to think about. We can also see the access point for the keepers is that little rusty gate, and I think this is really weirdly designed. We've got this hole, which is the access point for the beavers to go underwater and out of their burrow, which this is basically. But for the keepers to get in the backstage, they have to like step over this little wall over there. It was kind of awkward to see them do that, but whatever, it works, I guess. And yeah, that pretty much concludes the beaver part of the Churchill River of AquaZoo Leeuwarden. Let's also have a look at their old habitat, which we can see over here. So we had this kind of circular building with a nice outlook, also included their burrow, as you can see over here, the beaver burrow. Do you call it a burrow? Apparently it's called a lodge, so we just learned something new today here. But yeah, this has a nice outlook over their habitat, which definitely wasn't something bad. It was just a nice wetland type area with little spots of land. It's cool. It wasn't very landscaped or anything. It was just it looks kind of messy, let's be real. So it's a nice upgrade, I do think. I will say for the new area, the foliage still has to grow in a little bit, so it'll be really cool to see in another year or so what it's looking like. What I did find really cool about this habitat was over here, there was, I don't know if this is the access point of that lodge we saw earlier, but we could see the beavers had like a little, well, I do want to call this more of a burrow because that's what it looks like, but they had a little thing over there where they could go inside. So that was really cool to see. And yeah, just more views on the other side of this of this pond, I guess, swampy bit, is another viewpoint with some glass where you can see more of the enclosure and that shelter viewing area in the back. So yeah, that was AquaZoo Leeuwarden. Next up we have Dierenrijk, or should I start calling it Eindhoven Zoo now? I really don't want to. I don't like the new name, I'm sorry. It is interesting how two of the Libema zoos actually have the North American beaver, which is a little bit harder to find in Europe. You usually find the European beaver. But yeah, we got another view of their lodge over here. The access point was kind of on the right. And then here we move to the outdoor enclosures. We've got some scaffolding, some wooden scaffolding peeking over the water. We've got the water in the front, a little land section in the back. It's a nice large open enclosure. As we look to the right here, we can kind of see the burrow all covered up in ivy, so nicely hidden away, although not very themed or decorated. But yeah, this is a great enclosure to just see the beavers swim around. And surprisingly, I've seen a lot of active North American beavers, not so much European beavers. I haven't seen many of those like swimming around like this, so that's, I don't know, that's interesting. What's really cool about this enclosure, probably my favorite feature of it, is the enclosure next to it over here, which is the raccoon enclosure. Actually has a little flow of water flowing into the beaver enclosure, and at some point I could even see the beavers over here like trying to push some sand into that flowing water, because yeah, that's just their instinct, of course. So it's cool to see that natural behavior. Anyway, and lastly, for the North American beavers, or actually the Canadian beavers is what they're usually called here in Europe, I'm not sure about that, but we've got this lovely themed enclosure of Zoo Erlebniswelt, which has several tiers, so the water's kind of flowing through. I think over here you can see some like gates going into that rock. There's nothing here right now, but I feel like this may have used to be a tree porcupine enclosure as well, especially as we walk up to this kind of tunnel, like sheltered viewing area. Over here you can see some elevated climbing frames over there, which also have the logs kind of protected with some faux rock. I don't know, everything about that just screams North American tree porcupine to me, but they had a different enclosure further along on the walking route, so maybe they used to be here and they're no longer, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, over here we also have some burrow views as we're walking through like a tunnel. That sign you can see in the back is actually not in the enclosure, that's a reflection. I just wanted to point that out before you thought that they put a sign in there, which is a thing you could do, of course, but yeah, no, it was a reflection of this sign. I didn't get great footage of the flow over here because there were people all around and I didn't want to record them too much, but you can see how the entrance of the burrow goes like underwater over there, and you get yeah, it would be really cool to actually see the beavers go through that, because that would be just cool to see, because it does kind of work like that in real life as well with their burrows. So I keep calling it burrows. I think because in Dutch we call it a burcht, and that's kind of my brain makes that connection. It's not a burrow, but yeah, there's a cool little playground over here, and that pretty much concludes Zoo Erlebniswelt. So those were all the North American beavers, and now we're going to look at some European beavers, starting over here in the Zoo of Berlin, where once again we've got a little beaver lodge indoor viewing over here. And you can see there's already some food laid out for the beavers. It was a bit too dark to see any beavers. I don't think I saw any here, but yeah, you can go out of the lodge again, and you can see the ivy growing on top over there. Then here is the enclosure, some nice rocky stacked rock walls all around, and several tiers in here as well. The water wasn't really flowing at the moment. I don't know if that was turned off or other things were going on, but it's a decent looking enclosure. I don't see much land space in here, I will say, but yeah, there's quite a bit of space, quite a bit interesting terrain. Next up we have Parc Animalier de Bouillon, and yeah, this is definitely the worst enclosure in the video, as is to be expected. I do have more indoor viewing over here as well, but yeah, this is the enclosure. What is this? What is this? This is like copy-paste of the otter enclosure as well, which I think we did have in the Asian small-clawed otter video. But yeah, there's a beaver. And yeah, I don't know. What can I say about that? Next up, we have got the Zoo of Dessau. And this is actually a really interesting one, because this is not just a European beaver. This is actually a rare species of European beaver. This is the Elbe European beaver, and something cool in this habitat is you can see some of the logs have been like eaten away from, and yeah, we've got the simple little indoor enclosure. The enclosure isn't too fancy, but I think it was cool to have that rare species, which is only in 3 zoos in the world that are currently holding that one. So I thought that was a cool little bit of information. Yeah, cool zoo as well. I really can't wait to show this one in a little bit more detail. There's not too many great enclosures necessarily, but there is this cool thing in the zoo that you can see in the distance there. So we'll see more of that in future videos. Anyway, next up we have Parc, or the Zoo of Dunkerque. And starting off over here with a little indoor view, and we then move to the enclosure over here, which is just, you know, you got some interesting looking faux rock, a nice little faux log also going over the enclosure. Other than that, nothing too fancy here either. So yeah, just take it all in, and we'll be on to the next zoo, which is one that I wish I had more footage of. This is GaiaZoo, which has a lovely enclosure, but yeah, again, I'm missing some spots over here, some gaps in my footage. But we've got a nice little pond, some streams, some beautiful like stacked rock walls in the background. That roof, kind of flagstone roof or something, I don't know what to call that. It's a lovely style they've got going on over here in the taiga section of GaiaZoo. Again, we've got a little bit of an indoor view into their lodge, and a yawning beaver. How often can you see that? That was absolutely adorable. And yeah, when I was here last, the lodge was empty, and they said they were like reintroducing new beavers or something. But yeah, from the little view over here, we're looking straight across the enclosure. We can see the other view we started at in the background, and yeah, you can see more stuff over here. So pretty cool enclosure. Next up, we have the Zoo of Osnabrück. We are on highway number 1, and we have the Beaver. And see, it just automatically my brain translates as the burrow, but it's a lodge. It's the Beaver Lodge over here. And just like we saw in Erlebniswelt, we've got the kind of glass view of the entrance of the burrow over there, which is really cool to see. And yeah, you can see they've dragged some logs inside here, or the keepers kind of just gave them those logs, and it's really cool to see the beavers like hard at work on those logs, just really seeing them chew away at that wood. That was super cool. Also looking up over here, we can see they piled some like wood onto there to make it really feel like you're in the beaver burrow. It's a decent attempt at making a beaver burrow. It's probably one of the better looking ones we've seen so far. Not the best one in the video though, just yet. It's the faux rock around it that makes it not really look like a beaver burrow, of course. But anyway, over here again, just like in Zoom Erlebniswelt, we've got the several tiers, and we've got the water streaming down, which I am a really big fan of. I do like this one a lot. And as you can probably see by the climbing frames, this is once again a zoo that mixes the beavers with North American tree porcupine. And again, we can see the trees are like protected by these rusty metal yeah, things going all the way around it. We can also see the stream is going underneath the path into the enclosure a little bit, which is really cool to see. And you can see that burrow in the background looking pretty good. There's the sticks piled on top definitely sell the effect pretty well. There's also this over here. There's a little night enclosure for the tree porcupines. And yeah, next up we have Pairi Daiza, which have their beaver in their final frontier area, which is a North American area. Actually, where we just were was also a North American area. Yeah, I guess there's a lack of North American beavers, and zoos just chuck in a European beaver and hope no one notices, I suppose. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I understand you want to include a certain species to display the full ecosystem, but then if it's not the exact species, you're kind of lying. And the European beaver is also important for the European ecosystem, so I don't know, why not teach about that. Anyway, over here we can see there's like a little hole over there in this big rock thing, which probably goes into the indoor area. No indoor viewing here at Pairi Daiza, but yeah, they do have a really large enclosure over here with several of these islands, a nice big lake to swim in, and yeah, just nice bits of scenery. Again, like a bunch of these branches and trees that have been pretty recently planted, because this area wasn't that old yet when I visited. They're also protected. Coolest thing here is at night I was taking a walk around the park and I could actually see a beaver kind of in the reflection of the water there. That was really cool. Anyway, last of all, we've got the Wildlands Adventure Zoo. And we are entering Raccoon Creek over here, and one of the first enclosures we see is the beaver enclosure right here. So you can see a water wheel, we can see some awesome faux rock. You got a really unique style of faux rock in here. I'm not sure if I necessarily like it, but it's definitely an interesting look. And then we're entering this sawmill over here, which is just so detailed. There's so many cool things around here, and also it offers more views into the beaver enclosure over there. But yeah, there's education signs about the sawmill. There's a whole story here being told through like context. But yeah, the education is all themed as well. There's so much cool stuff. Something I don't really understand is we have to go through these doors over here to get into the enclosure. I'm not sure if this is technically a walkthrough enclosure or something. Like, I don't know why these gate systems are in place over here. But look at that beaver burrow. That's the best one in the video. It looks so freaking good. They did such an amazing job over here. Yeah, the theming of this enclosure is absolutely on point. We can also see, again, sturgeons and rainbow trout are in the water over here, just like we saw at AquaZoo. And yeah, just the sawmill. Over here there's a fishing hut with a smoker outside. There's also a smoker inside, but there's something going on over there, which we'll see in a moment. As we enter the hut of the fisherman, we can first of all see, look at that, there's a miniature beaver lodge over here, and it looks absolutely fantastic. There's a little note over here: "Hey John, the smokers are taken over by beavers. I've turned them off not to disturb them." There's a smoker outside for you to smoke your fish. So over here we've got the smoker, and we can indeed see the beavers inside. It's such a, like, I love the storytelling of this area. There's little things like that all over the place in Wildlands, and it's so cool to read all the signs. And they're not shying away from the fact that these are in fact European beavers, even though this is mostly a North America area, in like North American style. They are just owning the fact, like, yeah, we have European beavers, they're just here. This is no specific area. It's Nortica. It's whatever. But yeah, going back through the doors, the double doors, making sure we're not letting any beavers out, I guess. That is it for Wildlands, pretty much. So just one more cool shot of the sawmill over there. Awesome little landmark. And I can't wait to show the rest of this area in a upcoming raccoon video whenever we get around to that. That's gonna be a long one because they're everywhere. But yeah, that was it for beavers. Hope you got some beaver inspiration. I certainly enjoyed sharing all these amazing habitats with you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.